the Dawgs Podcast, with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast, presented by Omaha Steaks. Get those Omaha Steaks orders in for Father's Day, guys. Josh all alone with you guys. On today's episode, just want to break down the first 2 days of OTA news and updates and all the stuff coming out of the Browns' first set of organized team activities. And there's been some very big news. There's been, in Browns fandom world, some big news. And then just some other news and notes to go through and talk about and keep you guys up to date as the summer activities begin and continue to progress. So before I dive into some of this stuff, make sure you guys like this video, subscribe on YouTube, tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything new. We have been doing a lot of player interviews this offseason, so if you've missed any of those, please go back and check them out. We've got Aiden Robbins, we've got Trayton Welch, we've got Bookie Watson, we've got Tyrese Chambers coming out this Sunday, I believe, so stay tuned for that. We're going to have other interviews coming. We're going to do an episode in the coming week or two with the CEO of Guardian Caps, the big padded helmet protectors that you see these guys wearing during training camp and practices and things like that, because those caps are now going to be able to be worn during actual NFL games. So their CEO is going to come on and she's going to talk to us about that. Just all kinds of fun, interesting things to keep just to keep you guys updated on everything that's going on, Browns, NFL, and all the good stuff. And last but not least, make sure you guys head to jointhedawgs.com to become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. Help support the show. Your $5 a month or whatever you decide to pledge over there at Patreon goes a long way into helping support the show and continuing to grow the show and allowing us to do more content and more episodes like this. And also, Justin and I have started the Dawgs Fantasy Football Podcast, so please make sure you guys search for that on YouTube, at the Dawgs Fantasy, on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, and also on your podcast listening platforms, Apple, Spotify. Check that podcast out. We got the first episode dropped this week. Episode 2 will be coming out next week. So stay tuned for more good fantasy football commentary. Well, hopefully it's good from me and Justin. All right, so with all of that housekeeping stuff out of the way for this week, let's talk about the big thing from Browns OTAs. And, I wasn't doing a ton of reading as far as what the Browns were talking about leading into the start of their first OTA session here. But I did not fully realize Deshaun Watson was going to be out there day one throwing the football. But he was. Deshaun Watson, just however many months now, it's not been a ton. He had the off, not the off season, but the mid-season surgery to his shoulder. So that would have been in October-ish, something like that. November, I think maybe. And so here we are in May. We've been hearing the reports. He's been rehabbing. He's been progressing. He's been throwing with the trainers and with the medical staff and his rehabilitation personnel and all that kind of stuff. But to see him come out day one of OTAs, and remember, this is voluntary OTAs. These guys, the veterans, are not required to show up or to even participate in these training activities. These are essentially voluntary spring practices for guys to get out there and get the ball rolling a little bit. But you've got, and we'll talk about some of the veterans that are not participating in OTAs, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But Deshaun Watson, the leader of this team, the leader of this offense, the QB1 of the Cleveland Browns, out there, OTAs, day one, throwing the football in practice. And I cannot imagine the absolute disgusting mess that this whole situation created for all of the haters whose minds exploded when they saw this news. Because all I was told all off season and during the second half of last season was Deshaun Watson's faking an injury. He's faking a surgery or getting surgery for injuries that he doesn't really have. He doesn't want to be on the team. He doesn't want to be in Cleveland. He wants to be in LA. He doesn't want to play football anymore. He just wants to sit and collect his check, yada, yada, yada. Well, looks like all those false narratives that we have been laughing at these idiots all off season about is just completely crumbled, because if any of that, even a sliver of that were true, you would not see this guy, 7 months off of major shoulder surgery on his throwing shoulder out there day one on the practice field during a voluntary training activity, leading the offense and showing that he is ready to go. He is dialed in and focused on getting back to true form and leading this team to greatness in 2024. It was so exciting to see. If you guys go check out the clips, I'm sure you probably have, but check it out. I mean, obviously, I should have prefaced this entire episode talking and saying this. I get it, guys. I understand that this is helmets and shorts, no pads, and there's no contact allowed in OTAs or any of that kind of stuff. But I think what we need to also acknowledge is if you are fanning for the Cleveland Browns or any team, whatever team you fan for in any sport, anytime that team is doing something toward their ultimate goal of winning a championship, it's exciting, okay? So just because, and I know a lot of people on social media will say, oh, no one cares about this, talk to me in September. Well, that's fine. Then just don't comment with us until September. Don't follow anything for the Browns until the games start in September. For us and for true fans, or no, I shouldn't say true fans, for diehard fans who follow this team every day, bleed, sweat, cry Cleveland Browns football, this stuff is very important, because every training rep, whether it's, Deshaun Watson and, 6 of his offensive buddies going to Jamaica or wherever they go to train a little bit and, build some chemistry. Maybe they're working out on the beach. Trayton Welch is going to be working out on the beach during his honeymoon. Or if they're out there on the field in Berea in May in OTAs, it doesn't matter. Every one of these training reps is a step toward getting ready, getting prepared for the season in September. So the team doesn't just roll out in September and say, okay, we're trained, we're conditioned, we're prepped, we're ready to go. Let's just play football. Let's just see what happens. These guys work all season long, or all year long, during the season, off season, preseason, whatever. These guys are always working toward that goal. So whenever you see this stuff, especially whenever it's a team activity and these guys are together out there working, it is so great to see. And so, yes, I understand it's shorts and helmets and that's it. But every single rep, and we'll talk about this too, every single rep matters. So Deshaun Watson, he is, and I had somebody on Twitter say, oh, well, he looks like he's not throwing on Wednesday. That was the freaking plan, you dip wad. I'll try to keep my language clean here for this one. So the Browns said very clearly at the start of this thing, Deshaun Watson's going to be on an alternate day throwing schedule. He's going to throw, not throw. And that is to help, maintain his rehabilitation with that throwing shoulder surgery. And he's just working the strength back up. You don't want to overwork this guy. We've talked about this multiple times on this show. You can't put him out there day one of practice and say, go take 100% of the reps. He's got to work back with his strength. But to see that he's out there throwing passes day one shows that, okay, the progress in the rehab is definitely on schedule. This guy is ready to go. He just needs to build back up the strength, the stamina with his shoulder and everything to get ready for the season. So they said every other day he'll be throwing. So that meant Tuesday he threw, Wednesday he did not, today, Thursday he will. And then I'm guessing for the next 2 OTAs, there's 3 OTA sessions. For the next 2, it'll probably be the same schedule. And then I think the plan, if I was reading correctly, when the team comes back for, let's see, after this, it's going to be mandatory veteran mini camp where everybody has to report. And I believe he'll be doing the same, alternating his throwing days during that. And that's working up to training camp in July. And I think the hope and the goal is that he can come in and pretty much get back to an everyday throwing schedule for training camp in July, which is awesome. That means he will definitely be 100% ready to go week 1 in Cleveland against the Dallas Cowboys. So very encouraging to see Deshaun Watson out there throwing. Probably one of the questions that will be asked about it is, were you surprised to see him out there throwing? And, you know, I know we get a lot of flack from people online and stuff about being Deshaun apologists and Deshaun homers, Browns homers, blah, 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 blah. But if you have followed this show, you followed me, and you know these are my true feelings. I get no benefit whatsoever. Actually, I get more flack and BS from people for my beliefs and my feelings about this. But everything about Deshaun Watson is the dude is a competitor. He is a grinder. He is always focused and dialed in, and he wants to be the best he can be, and he wants to win football games. He wants to be a champion. He's been a champion at every level, and he needs to be a champion at the NFL level to have that complete success throughout his entire football career. So with the shoulder injury, I was not expecting him to come out day one in OTAs and be throwing the football around at practice and leading the offense and stuff like that. If they would have come out and said that, we're going to ease him into the OTAs, maybe the second session he'll have a throwing day, lead the practice, or maybe the third session, I just said, okay, that's fine. As long as he's out there with the team, obviously he's still going to show up just because that's who he is. He is a leader, and you're not keeping this guy off the field unless injuries force him off the field. So was I surprised? If he was capable, if his body was capable and able and willing to allow him to be on the field, I'm actually not surprised to see him on the field, because this is just who Deshaun Watson is. And if you hate him, if you're a Deshaun Watson hater and you're rolling your eyes or laughing right now, which I'm sure some people tune into this show just to get that kind of content and to throw those comments in the comment section, go for it. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. The Browns have a proven winner in Deshaun Watson at the QB1. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, haters. 80% of his games last year, he won. He is a proven winner. This is what he has done at the NFL level, college, high school, all throughout, and he's going to continue to do it in 2024. So the last thing about Deshaun Watson that I just wanted to speculate on here a little bit with this, him being out on the field day one, throwing the football, is not just a sign of his physical progress and rehabilitation from his shoulder injury. It is also, for me, it's good to see, because it shows me that his mental state, where he is mentally coming off of this injury last year, and his confidence level in his abilities is back. Like there's nothing holding him back, saying, maybe I should take it easy. Maybe I can't really make these throws right now. I probably shouldn't press it. It just shows that mentally he is not struggling with any of these hurdles that are going to keep him from pushing himself through the rehabilitation process. And, I have a little experience with this. I have a very good friend of mine, Percy Garner. He pitched for the Cleveland Indians back in 2016. We do podcasts together and all that kind of stuff. And he also works in the studio that we work in and all that kind of stuff. And, Percy we played high school ball together and everything. And you want to talk about one hell of an athlete. I mean, he was, in terms of pitching, he was unlike any other high school pitcher I'd ever seen. He was a phenomenal quarterback. The dude could throw the ball a mile, and just outstanding athlete all around. And, in the pros, in Major League Baseball and everything, I should get Percy on the show one of these days, and we can talk about this stuff in more detail. But just long story short, pitched for the Indians in 2016, came out and was doing very well, and came back the following season. And I would need him to, again, explain the exact details of this, but he suffered an injury to his throwing shoulder. I think it was rotator cuff. Went through some, the rehabilitation for that. And he has talked so many times about how the injury to the shoulder, to his throwing shoulder, to his main weapon, which, that's Deshaun Watson, his throwing shoulder. That is his weapon. That's where he makes his money. That's what he uses to play football. And, that mentally, that can be a roadblock for people. Like, oh man, I can't believe I'm hurt. Like being hurt. I mean, if you're a guy out there, let's just go with me on this. How big of a baby are you when you're sick? I'm kind of sick right now. If you can't tell, I got like the nasal, the sinus congestion, the chest crap, and I'm doing good now. But like earlier in the week, I was feeling like garbage. And again, I get it from my wife all the time. Gosh, you are such a baby. You are so dramatic when you're sick. Well, yeah, I think most guys probably are. It's just something about like being sick, being injured. Like, I don't know if it's like the I'm a man mentality that men have. It's just built into us. Like we're supposed to be invincible almost. Like nothing should be keeping me down. I've got things to do. I can't believe I can't get out and do this, that, and the other because I feel like crap. And the same thing goes for these injuries. I mean, especially a guy like Deshaun or Percy, like I'm talking about here. I want to be out on the mound throwing my 99 mile per hour fastballs and knocking guys out of the game here. And I can't do it. And not everybody handles injuries the same way. So to see Deshaun Watson back on the field already in OTAs is just another sign that the mental hurdles with his injury, he is working through everything. It's not just a physical recovery, but there is also a mental recovery when you are injured. And I just want people to be aware of all of that as well. So very encouraging. Glad to see Deshaun on the field. Drop in the comments. What were your thoughts when you saw Deshaun Watson out there throwing passes day one? Obviously, like I said, he'll be out there today, and we will be talking about everything that comes out of day 3 of OTAs next week whenever we get back together in the studio, and we will cover any new news and updates from all of that. This episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Dog Pack Father's Day is right around the corner. So what do you give the man who has essentially everything he already needs? I mean, it's always so hard at Father's Day and on dad's birthdays and things like that. So what does this guy even really need? Well, let me make it easy for you guys. Get him steak and burgers and brats and jumbo franks and chicken and everything that Omaha Steaks has to offer because dads want meat. And it's the perfect gift because he's going to use it. It's grilling season. Your dad, your grandpa, these guys, you as a dad, we're going to be grilling out all summer long. So get things kicked off the right way with Omaha Steaks for Father's Day. It's what I get my dad, my grandpa, my father-in-law every year for Father's Day because I know they're going to use it. They love the food, and it just goes a long way. They can continue. I mean, obviously, they grill out once, twice, 3 times, and they just keep using the food that you got them for Father's Day. It's the perfect gift. And right now, when you go to omahasteaks.com, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out for an additional discount when you shop the gourmet gift packages for Father's Day. The Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks are making this very easy for you guys to put a smile on the big guys' faces this summer. They've got hand-selected gift packages starting at just $89 for Father's Day. And like I said, omahasteaks.com, use that promo code DAWGS when you check out for an additional discount on your order. So don't stress, don't fret, make Father's Day easy for all the dads in your life. And if your wife or your kids are saying, hey dad, what do you want for Father's Day? Just tell them, get me some damn good food from Omaha Steaks. omahasteaks.com, promo code DAWGS, DAWGS when you check out. Shop the Father's Day selection, all their gift packages starting at $89. And with that promo code DAWGS when you check out, you get an additional discount on your order. So don't wait. Get everything ready to go now. omahasteaks.com, promo code DAWGS. Get all the dads in your life the perfect gift for Father's Day. One last note on Deshaun Watson. There was a quote from Kevin Stefanski. Obviously, coaches are going to be talking and getting asked questions, but it's just good to hear Kevin come out and say, Deshaun looked like himself to me. I've been able to watch him the last couple of weeks now that we've gotten into phase 2. So I've seen him throw. He's making great progress. We will just continue to follow the medical team on this, but he looks like himself. And that is great news, like I've been saying. So let's roll on here. Let's talk about a couple other things, news and notes from the Browns OTAs so far this week. And let's see here. We've got Jed Wills, Jack Conklin, our 2 starting, or at least projected starting offensive tackles. They were the guys who started the season last year. They are still not practicing on the field. They're there. They're at the OTAs. they're just continuing to work back on their own to regain the strength and functionality from their surgeries that they're recovering from. So I didn't see anything that made it sound like they're not going to be ready for the start of the season or even for the start of training camp. But I don't think anybody's getting pressed to get on the field as they're recovering during OTAs. Another injury update that I think is big for everybody out there who's probably been wondering about: Dustin Hopkins with that hamstring injury last year forced him out to miss the end of the season in the playoff game. Kevin Stefanski said that I almost said DeAndre Hopkins. Wow, D-Hop. Kevin Stefanski said that Dustin Hopkins is back to 100% after his hamstring injury. So that is cheers and applause and just a big sigh of relief to hear the head coach say that the kicker is back to 100%. He didn't say he's still working back. He didn't say that he's on track to be ready for the season. He said he is back to 100%. So that is great to hear. That was a quote that I thought was very important to throw in here to make sure you guys hear that, see that, and know that Dustin Hopkins, by all accounts, going to be back and ready to go for training camp preseason, and he's going to be kicking for the Cleveland Browns again in 2024. Thank God, because he was freaking awesome. Just knockout stellar in 2023. So I think that might wrap things up for injury stuff, unless I have things further down in my notes. I do have one other thing, but I will get to it. It's in a different section here. Buki Watson, who I just interviewed last weekend on the podcast. Make sure you guys go back and check out that interview. This kid is so amazing. And he had an end zone interception. He picked off Tyler Huntley to end practice yesterday. His former teammate at Mississippi State, Martin Emerson, said this: Buki is electric. He is a very hyper guy. He comes and plays every day. He's very physical, and that's what we play. Cleveland Browns defense, we are very physical, fast, and that's what I like. He brings all that to the table. So I'm excited to have Nathaniel be a part of this defense. And so are we. Oh my goodness. To have Buki Watson playing linebacker for the Cleveland Browns, I'm just telling you guys, it's going to be good. It is going to be good. The Browns defense, okay, so just kind of looking at the defense from 2023, they actually, even though they finished the season overall statistically as the number one defense in the NFL, they actually had the worst red zone percentage in the entire NFL, 71.4%, meaning that 71.4% of the time that opposing offenses got into the red zone, they converted for a touchdown. So that is not good. And most of that 71.4% worst percentage in the NFL came on the road. So the Browns have stuff to work on defense. They're talking about that. Kevin acknowledged it. The players are acknowledging it openly. They know that even though they were the best, overall, yes, they can walk away and say, we were the best last year. They know that there were a lot of things they've got to improve on. Martin Emerson again said that red zone percentage, that's a huge focus of improvement for the team. Let's see, Jordan Hicks broke up a pass in 7-on-7s right before Buki picked off Tyler Huntley to end the practice. So, and again, this is probably the last time I mention this because I'm tired of having to say this. I get that this is pads or not. This is no pads. This is helmet shorts. I get all this. But again, these reps, everybody out there working toward these common goals, that's what matters, and the progress toward those goals. Jerry Jeudy, new Browns wide receivers, leading the wide receivers at OTAs. Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore are the veterans who are skipping the voluntary workouts. Also skipping the workouts. I mean, we talked about this last year. I mean, this is nothing new. Myles Garrett not there. Joel Bitonio not there. I guess I shouldn't say they're not there. They're not out on the field running the practices. And actually, I got a quote from Wyatt Teller talking about Joel Bitonio not being there, which I thought was pretty eye-opening, at least for me. So I'll read that here in a second. But you got guys like Zadarius Smith, Maurice Hurst. They are actually on the field during OTAs. They're out there working with the rookie counterparts. They're out there with Mike Hall, Jawan Briggs, Siaki Ika. So it's good to see these guys just getting these reps in because the season is going to be here before we know it. The more prepared we can be, the better off we're going to be. So this is the quote from Wyatt Teller. He was asked about Joel Bitonio not being on the field at OTAs because Joel is there. He's working out, he's training, all those things in Berea. He's just not out on the field during the practices. But here's what Wyatt Teller said. Quote, Joel's a smart guy. He goes, I've played 10 years. Now, this is Joel, but he's quoting Joel Bitonio. I've played 10 years in the league. I don't care which coach it is. I'm going to stay away from the rookies coming off the ball because so much of the NFL is how to be a pro, how to practice. So that was interesting to me. If OTAs and kind of getting integrated with the new rookies and all this stuff is about how to be a pro and how to practice and everything, Joel Bitonio doesn't need any help there. Joel Bitonio, like he said himself, been in the league 10 years. He knows what he's doing. He's a pro's pro. He's a future Hall of Famer. I believe he's a future Hall of Famer. And, he doesn't need to be out there. Joe Thomas wasn't out there during these things either. Like, these guys know what's going on. And the part of that quote that was the most interesting to me, though, was when he said, I'm going to stay away from the rookies coming off the ball. That's interesting because a guy like Joel Bitonio, who is 33, he's older for an NFL player. He's started to, have an injury, a nick and a bruise here and there over the last couple of years. This dude does not need one of these young guys full of spunk and testosterone and just wanting to go out there and prove themselves right away at the NFL level. He doesn't need one of these young guys going a little too hard during an OTA practice and accidentally causing something to happen, which I had never really thought of before I saw this quote. So all it takes is one 22-year-old kid getting too aggressive and coming off the ball too fast or in the wrong direction, taking out Joel's knee by mistake, and now everybody in Cleveland and in Cleveland Browns Nation is just pissed off. So, those kinds of things, avoiding these accidental injuries, just that obviously nobody would do on purpose, but these things can happen. And, Joel Bitonio knows better than we do because he's been in the league, like he said, 10 years, and I'm sure he's seen things happen to other players or almost happen. Maybe guys have, avoided catastrophe before, but it's like, I don't need to be a part of that right now. So I think that's understandable. We'll talk a little bit more about, veterans not being at, these voluntary OTAs next week whenever we get together. It'll be me and Blake next week on the show. Maybe we'll do a live because Justin will be down at Disney World with his family, so he's going to be taking the week off. But we'll talk a little bit more about that stuff. Another thing Wyatt Teller talked about, he said that you cannot tell that rookie offensive guard Zach Zinter is coming off of an injury from last year. He said Zinter looks good. He works hard. He's very open and willing to learn. There's quotes out there about Zinter talking about coming in and working behind Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, saying these are two of the best in the entire league. I can learn so much from these guys. And basically Wyatt Teller was saying, yes, he is like an open book. He is soaking it all in and he is learning. He's very willing to learn. And I just thought those are good reports to hear about these young guys coming in because, again, the reporters can ask Wyatt Teller, like, hey, what's your impression of Zach Zinter? Yeah, he's a good kid. He doesn't have to expand on any of this stuff, but to hear that he's been impressed with Zinter and his work ethic and everything, again, just more encouragement. Jameis Winston obviously took all of the reps at quarterback, or the first team reps at quarterback at OTAs on Wednesday because that was the day Deshaun Watson was scheduled to not be throwing. Though Watson was out there with the quarterbacks during all the drills, taking the mental reps. He's going through his, if you watch any of the videos, Jameis drops back to throw. Deshaun's behind him, dropping back and mimicking the throw, just doing these mental reps. And Coach Stefanski talked about how, every rep, whether it's a physical rep or a mental rep, goes, it's a step toward getting better. So it's just good to see these guys out there. Jameis if you watch the videos, he had a real nice pass to Jamari Thrash, who made a nice catch. David Bell had a nice catch. And a guy that I think we don't talk a lot about and a lot of people might be forgetting about, Michael Woods, 6th round pick by the Browns in, what was that, 2022, 2021? Yeah, 2021. And he was out there practicing again. So he's recovered from last year in April. He tore his ACL in a workout. I think he was working out with Deshaun Watson when he tore his ACL, which it was just so unfortunate because Michael Woods, he's looks, by all accounts, he's kind of bulked up a little bit too. He's a big receiver. I think he's 6'1"-ish, something like that, probably about 200 pounds. So he's a bigger bodied receiver. And I guess he was also suspended for 6 games last year for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. I personally don't remember that news. We might have even covered it back when it happened, but we talk about so much. Sometimes I don't remember everything. But either way, Michael Woods is back. That's just another wide receiver weapon and option that we get to, utilize during training camp and see if he's got anything in the tank for the season. He is also just maintenance information here. He switched his number from 12 to 81. So if you guys go up to camp or you're watching videos online, you see a wide receiver number 81 doing anything in the videos, making catches or whatever, that is Michael Woods. Greg Newsome, again, fun to watch, at least if, in my opinion. He's out there already in OTAs doing his celebration dances, which I know that drives a lot of fans, a certain faction of the fan base crazy to see him whenever he gets up and does his dances. But Denzel Ward does them too. They're out there together. It's just good to see this defense embracing their identity, their swagger, their physicality, everything on the field. And I know that Jim Schwartz encourages them to have fun doing it. So I have no problem seeing it. And, Greg Newsome, obviously a guy that we talked about all offseason. Is he coming back? Are we picking up his fifth-year option? He was in trade talks, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we need Greg Newsome in the secondary because he is a very good cornerback. And I cannot wait to watch him and Ward and Emerson just locking down that secondary in 2024. Another thing that we'll just mention here, Zadarius Smith cut his hair. It's news because it's news. Zadarius had those long, thick dreadlocks. That was just kind of like his iconic look for years in the NFL. But he chopped those off. He's got himself a fresh, tight cut, and he's looking good. He's looking sharp, and it's good to see him back with the team. He was quoted talking about why did he come back to Cleveland, and he just said basically, I feel like Cleveland fits with my personality. I feel like this is just a culture fit for me. And I feel like there's unfinished business from last year, which there is. There is so much unfinished freaking business from 2023 because of all the injuries, derailed everything for the Browns. And yet we still fought through the adversity, went 11-6, could have been 12-5 had we actually played against the Bengals in week 18. And we still made the playoffs despite everything. So you give me back Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson, and one starting healthy offensive tackle out of the three that were all on IR to end the season. And I think you got a completely different story from 2023. But that's not the case. We did suffer the injuries. And here we are heading into 2024. And like Blake has said several times on this show, the biggest additions the Browns can make, the most improvement that we can make to the roster for 2024 is just getting guys healthy. It's not new free agents. It's not new draft picks. It's having the guys, the studs, the leaders that we already have on this team just get back to being healthy for this season. And that's where we are heading. So like I said, it's OTAs. There's a lot to talk about, but again, maybe not like a lot of substance to really talk about. But as I said at the top of the show, the point is the Browns are back on the field, getting ready to compete once again in 2024. So do not fan scared. Don't fan selective times of the year. Fan hard. Fan all year round. Be a diehard. This is a great team right now in Cleveland. We've spent decades following a team that was nothing but frustrating and disappointing and kind of just laughable. That's not the case anymore. So just sit back and enjoy the ride, guys. It's going to be a great season. It's going to be fun. There's going to be adversity. We're going to lose games. We're going to have tough moments, but it's all going to culminate in where the leaders of this team take us. Where does Deshaun Watson take this team? Where does Myles Garrett take this team? Where does Denzel Ward take this team? Can Nick Chubb get back? Can Amari Cooper repeat his AFC North wide receiver leading title? Because we've got some very, very incredible players on this team. This roster is built to compete for a championship. It just needs to stay healthy. And it also just needs to perform up to its highest potential. And that's where the OTAs come into play because we are kicking everything off in that direction. So stay tuned. See what happens today on Thursday at OTAs. If you follow us on social media, we'll be giving you guys updates there. We'll talk about the first session and going into the second session of OTAs next week during our live. Tyrese Chambers interview comes out on Sunday afternoon, so make sure you guys have that notification bell tapped on YouTube. please subscribe to the channel because we are getting closer and closer every day to 10,000 subscribers. It's a huge milestone landmark for us for this show. We have come such a long way in the last 4 years since we started this show, heading into our 5th season covering the Cleveland Browns for you guys, and we could not be enjoying it anymore. It's so much fun doing the show for everybody. So we appreciate you guys. Best audience in the world. Love everybody out there watching us, supporting and supporting the Browns. This is a great time to be a fan of the team, as I always say. So enjoy it. We are very blessed, and just have a great week. I guess it's the end of the week now, so have a great weekend. Enjoy the interview that comes out on Sunday, and we will talk to you guys next week. And until we do, let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Manly Bands. Dog Pack, if you followed the show for a while, you know that I recently got married. I got my wedding band at Manly Bands. Now, I opted for something a little more simple, so I just got a plain, simple, gold, polished band from Manly Bands, but that's not everybody, and I'm telling you, they've got so many cool different designs and materials available. They've got bands made out of Jack Daniel's whiskey barrels, meteorites, even dinosaur bones. It's so cool. Just head to manlybands.com, check out the selection, see what they have. They've even got build your own bands if you want to make a custom style band for yourself. And right now, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, at manlybands.com when you check out, and you'll get 25% off your order. 25% is a big deal. So make sure, if you guys are looking for a new wedding band, Blake mentioned last week or two on the show that, he's lost a lot of weight in the last year. And so his wedding band is a little too big for him. So he's thinking about getting a new one. And I told him, I said, just go to Manly Bands, see what they got. And the 25% off your order is such a great deal. You really can't beat it. So at least go check it out, see what they have. They've got some really cool stuff. And again, promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, if you decide to buy one, and you'll get 25% off of that purchase. If you don't know your ring size, you can order a free ring size guide. They'll ship it straight to you. You can punch out the little rings and put them on your finger to see which size fits you best. And then every single band you order comes with a free silicone ring for whenever you want to work out or go swimming or whatever you need a silicone band for. You get one for free shipped with your purchase of a Manly Band from manlybands.com. So check it out. Again, manlybands.com. Use promo code DAWGS for 25% off your order.